All right. Good afternoon, everybody. This is your Facebook meteorologist, Sean Bagden here, followed along with your Facebook meteorologist, Derek Centrone, as well. And we are here to talk about a light to moderate snow event that is expected to develop tomorrow morning through Sunday morning across most of Wyoming, especially southern Wyoming here. We're going to break down as we normally would in a text post, but since this is a pretty widespread event across the state, we figured it was best to do a live for this event. So we're going to start off looking at the models, and then we'll show you how we make the snowfall forecast here. And we're going to start breaking it down from the top down as we usually do. So I'm just going to bring this out to the United States view so we can have a better look at the system we are looking at here to drop through the region. And I'll have Derek break down the upper level map for you guys.
All right, so we do have a bit of a trough that's expected to form off the west coast, and it's expected to eject over the mountains into tomorrow, you said?
Into tomorrow,
into tomorrow. Sorry, I'm over here on the East Coast. I'm trying to follow along here. I'm usually the East Coast guy. So yeah, it's going to form. It's going to push along. As it pushes along, there's going to be a stationary boundary that sets up. Here, do you think you can pull that up? There we go.
There we go. I've got it right there.
Yes. All right. So off that cyclone, we have a bit of a stationary boundary that's going to set up over the mountains up into the upper plains right along there. And underneath that stationary boundary, we're going to start to see some of that positive vorticity advection come in. And that's where we're going to see the greatest chance for snowfall up into most of Wyoming. Because right along the southern side of that stationary boundary, you have vorticity and you also have moisture pooling. And yeah, that's where the greatest chance for our snow event's going to be, right along there.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to break this down a little bit further, this system will be coming south out of Canada here. And usually with these sorts of systems, we do see more of a drier air mass working in with the system, which is why up in northern Wyoming here, we are anticipating slightly less in the way of snowfall amounts compared to southern Wyoming here. But as we move through the day on Friday, and especially into Saturday through Sunday time frame here, we do notice this deeper trough starting to develop here across northern central California, which is going to help invigorate southwesterly flow off the Pacific, which is going to pool up moisture, as Derek was saying, up against this stationary boundary, which you can see here by these more red colors, which is expected to stall out and pump moisture into this boundary as we go into the weekend here, likely increasing snowfall amounts for areas such as southwestern Wyoming and Sweetwater County here, all the way through Laramie County, along I-80 especially, and just south of I-80. So definitely we could be looking at some pretty impactful road conditions here as we get into the weekend, especially into the day on Saturday and overnight Friday. So moving on through time here, you can see that boundary really just sits and spins across Wyoming here for pretty much the entire forecast period before it starts to drop south across the area and get absorbed into this rather large cyclone, cutoff cyclone from the main flow here as we go into the day on Monday. Early morning Monday is right here, and we'll be watching this to see if it does have any impacts to especially eastern Wyoming as we roll into midweek next week as it starts to move closer toward the area. But looking at the current storm at hand, we're going to zoom into more of a Wyoming view here just so we can get a little bit better in the way of resolution here to see exactly what the weather conditions are expected to be across the state as we head through the weekend here. Do you want to break down the simulated radar here, Derek?
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
So, coming into tomorrow, along most of it's so hard to talk about it when I don't have control of the actual thing.
Okay, yeah, just tell me what you want me to move.
Yeah, do you think you could just like move forward a little bit here? I'm trying to figure out what time I'm looking at too. Everything's so small on my screen. Um,
Oh, there we go.
we're a little rusty here. We
Yeah,
haven't
this
gone
is
together in a
the
long time.
afternoon on Friday.
It's Thursday.
This is
Oh,
afternoon
I thought you
Friday.
said it's Friday. Sorry. I'm very tired, guys.
Okay,
It's been a
go
long
for
day.
it.
All right. This is the afternoon on Friday. So, you start to see a few snow showers start to push in by Friday afternoon. By Friday afternoon, some heavier banding through the center, through about the center of the state there. Much heavier snow banding. Kind of, you know what? Just take over. I don't know anything about why.
Okay, I'll take over. That's completely fine. So we are going to watch this trough move into the area, and as it does, we're going to be seeing some light to moderate snow break out here across Yellowstone National Park and into the Tetons, also the Teton Valley of Idaho. It will take a little bit longer to get that moisture to pump into eastern Wyoming, just given that we are waiting for that moisture to kind of make it up over the divide here, but it will eventually break out in terms of light snow across northeastern Wyoming here. And as that trough or that stationary boundary starts to move south across the region, we are going to see it be very progressive as it passes through northern Wyoming, bringing snow to an end pretty quickly. But as we were talking about before, we're going to see that stall out, and that area of low pressure over California is going to start to feed a pretty sustained flow of moisture into this trough axis that's going to be dropping through the area here, as you can see by these light to moderate banding features that do set up from, say, the Lander area down through Rollins, Elk Mountain, and then into the Laramie Range here over the I-80 high point as well. Also looking between Douglas and Chugwater, I would say, even a little bit north of Cheyenne as well. And this band is expected to remain pretty stationary over the next couple of days here, pretty much over the weekend, across a lot of southern Wyoming here. Again, this isn't going to be the heaviest snow event we've seen all year, but given the cold temperatures aloft, that's going to really make this snowfall very efficient at accumulating on the road surfaces, on the ground surfaces. So likely seeing, even with very little snow actually falling, a lot of snow ending up on the ground in a lot of these areas, especially from Rollins to Cheyenne on I-80 here, especially Elk Mountain and the I-80 high point. You can see this banding feature does continue to remain across southern Wyoming here in the I-80 corridor as we head through the day on Sunday. Looks like everything does wind down except for over the Elk Mountain area by Monday morning here. Looking more west of the divide now, let me just shift this so we can have a look at the Star Valley and Jackson Hole here. I'll move over to the northwestern U.S. Not expecting widespread impacts from this event over in the Star Valley here, but we are going to be seeing that light snow developing across the area as this trough or stationary boundary does move through the area. This right now is for Friday, late afternoon, early afternoon Friday. And that's when our snow is expected to start across Jackson Hole and the Star Valley of Wyoming, which is going to be right here. Sometimes this map can be a little harder to read, but that's where Star Valley and Jackson Hole are. And just given that we're going to be having a pretty consistent west to east flow across this area, it's going to be very favorable for upslope snow banding features to develop, which will possibly be heavy at times. You can see this banding feature setting up here for areas from Etna north through Alpine, of course, and then that's likely where we're going to see our heaviest snow, over in Alpine here, and then up in lighter amounts up here in the Teton Valley of Idaho. Also, Jackson Hole will likely again be in a snow hole here due to the fact we do have that west to east wind setting up, which will create drying flow to develop over the Tetons and into Jackson Hole here. Let's have a look at our snow to liquid ratios right now. This is basically how much snow you can get out of 1 inch of water that falls. This is pretty high resolution here, so we can pretty much get a good idea for what's going on. So we were looking at Friday overnight or Friday late afternoon. That'd be around here. So we're looking at pretty efficient accumulating snowfalls here, especially in the Alpine and Star Valley regions, with about 20-1 snow to liquid ratios. Some areas near the Afton area may be a little bit lower than that. Also over in Jackson Hole, probably in the mid-teens here. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to have a look at how much rain liquid equivalent precipitation falls across these areas to get ourselves a pretty good snowfall forecast here from these models, as they do not do the best job with picking out snowfall totals. As you can see here, Jackson Hole, they're going to be in that snow hole we were talking about there, likely only seeing about a dusting to maybe an inch in this area, given the snowfall ratios we are expecting across Jackson Hole. Teton Pass up here, we're likely looking anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of snow. Locally, higher amounts up near 8 inches could be possible, especially at the top of Teton Pass, since that banding feature, which is pretty evident here on the expected precipitation that's going to fall, is going to set up across Teton Pass here. Definitely potential for 8 inches across Teton Pass, which could cause some pretty significant road issues up that way. The good news is we are not expecting too much in the way of wind for Teton Pass. So pretty good news there overall, as I know you all can handle driving in 4 to 8 inches of snow up there. That's for sure. Looking down more toward the Alpine area here. Let me try to zoom in on this. Yep. Alpine area looking to be on the higher range of outcomes here, just due to that favorable upslope flow and the proximity to those banding features we were just talking about here. Looking at about 0.21 inches of water, and we were talking about maybe a 20 to 22 to 1 snowfall ratio here. So definitely being in the 3 to 5 inch range is certainly not out of the question for Alpine. Definitely the potential for locally higher amounts in the Alpine area, especially up on the bench there, and the benches along Star Valley, where you could easily see 6 to 8 inches of snow in those locally higher elevation areas where people do live across the area. And as we drop a little bit further south in the Star Valley here, Afton looking to be in the snow hole as well, likely only a dusting to an inch, maybe a couple if you get into those higher elevations there near Afton. But we'll likely see rapidly falling off snow totals as you head down into southern Star Valley here. Probably in the Thane area, we'll be talking more in the 2 to 4 inch range. And then again, Afton dusting to around an inch there. Pretty similar over in the Jackson Hole area as well. Now going down towards the I-80 corridor here, this is where we're expecting the most significant impacts to develop. It's going to be Sweetwater County. That's where we're going to have the greatest combination of snow and wind developing across the area here. Not too much in the way of snow, but as that frontal boundary starts to interact with the area, the sisters also through the Elk Mountain area, we're going to start seeing those downsloping winds developing. And what downsloping winds mean is, yes, you are going to get lighter snowfall totals across these areas west of the divide on I-80. The only problem here is you're going to get acceleration of that wind down to the surface here. So looking at actual snowfall totals, 2 to 4 inches is certainly possible in Sweetwater County, especially along the I-80 corridor and south of I-80. You may even have a chance of picking up locally 6 inches of snow if you're near any terrain features here. But winds is going to be the big story here. Let's bring up our forecasted wind gusts here for the Sweetwater County area and the sisters. And you can, as that boundary starts to push through, we start to get these higher wind gusts from Rock Springs to Rollins and then down through Sweetwater County here. You start getting wind gusts up into the 31 knot range, which is right on the fringe of blizzard conditions developing across the area. 35 miles per hour is what we need, and this is showing us about 34 miles an hour. So definitely locally blizzard conditions could be possible, especially across Sweetwater County here, given that this is where we're expecting the most snowfall, which could greatly reduce visibility across the area, and also potentially cause road closures across the area due to the accidents that could be possible. Definitely a very low blowover risk, since we aren't talking about those really high winds we usually get, but visibility is going to be a huge problem. Blowing and drifting snow is going to be a big problem in Sweetwater County here to the Utah border, as well as to a lower degree between Rock Springs and Rollins, as we are expecting a little bit less in the way of snow over there, but it definitely could still get blowing around. Let's have a look over at the Elk Mountain area now, as this is going to be another area which is going to be impacted as well, which is relatively normal for Wyoming standards. But just so you guys are aware, especially the truckers out there and people that do travel this stretch of highway for work every day, looking at snowfall up near the Elk Mountain, the top of Elk Mountain here on I-80, we're looking some areas 8 to 12 inches could be possible, especially near the summit of Elk Mountain here, with slightly decreasing totals as you head down toward the Rollins area, where 2 to 4 inches is certainly possible as the stationary banding feature does continue to set up. So as an overall snowfall forecast for the I-80 corridor, I say 2 to 4 inches is a good bet for most areas, with locally lighter amounts being possible near Rock Springs. Given the orientation of this boundary, I don't think this little snow hole is going to be here. I think we're going to be seeing snowfall pretty consistently along I-80 here. Got to plug in my computer really quick because that's going to be dying here. But then again, you are going to be seeing those higher snowfall amounts along Elk Mountain and through the Laramie area here, where 8 to 12 inches could be possible in those higher terrain features there near Elk Mountain. Laramie area, we're going to be looking in the 2 to 4 inch range, potentially right before you go up towards the I-80 high point there, you could get a little bit of a shadowing effect, and you may see only a dusting to an inch in that area. But that is not going to be too much of a concern over in the Laramie Valley there. One thing to look out for, which is quite common across the Elk Mountain area of I-80, is going to be those high winds. Yet again, not looking at as high of a blowover risk as we have seen in the previous storms here. We're not talking about 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts anymore. But certainly seeing wind gusts in the 40-mile-an-hour range early on is certainly a possibility here, potentially upwards of 50 miles an hour. In terms of crosswinds, that will be mostly towards the beginning of this event. But that is when the heaviest snow is expected to fall. So locally, blizzard conditions could be possible, especially as we head into the afternoon hours on Friday and into the morning hours on Saturday here, as those winds start to subside behind the frontal boundary and along it. Blizzard conditions should then remain on the lower threat levels here as we head over Elk Mountain going into the afternoon Saturday and into Sunday, as winds really start to slacken off there. And again, here's those higher winds expected near blizzard conditions over by the Rock Springs area and into Sweetwater County here, as you start to get that northerly polar flow coming in behind the frontal boundary here. Looking toward the Cheyenne area, this is where more significant prolonged wind effects could be seen here, as you see this band of Canadian air pushing into the area out of the northwest. Locally, could be seeing blizzard conditions here as well. There won't be much snow falling up in this area with the system, as it'll be pretty progressive. But any snow that is on the ground and still light and fluffy across the area will definitely be blowing across these local roadways, causing reduced visibilities and potential blowover risk, especially over here where we have winds upwards of 45 to 50 miles an hour. Definitely those light, high-profile vehicles could be at risk towards this area over here. I forget what town's over there. But that'll be just off to the east of the Douglas area. And then as you look down to Cheyenne, looking like pretty consistent winds in the 25-mile-an-hour range. Certainly nothing you haven't seen over there, and definitely not close to blizzard conditions. So not expecting overly significant impacts over in the Cheyenne area, but certainly it is possible we could see some increased snowfall totals off to the north of Cheyenne through the Chugwater area here as you get into that elevated terrain. Likely 1 to 3 inches of snow expected over there. And then up here in the Bighorns, also into the Lander area, we could be seeing some upslope flow setting up as well. Likely seeing those snowfall ranges in close proximity to the Lander area, and the Bighorns being in that 1 to 3 inch range, with locally 5 inches as you get a little bit higher up into those mountain passes there. Those 5-inch amounts likely won't be in populated areas, but could cause issues here in the higher mountain passes, especially South Pass and the couple passes that do go through the Bighorns there. Casper and Casper Mountain, again, not looking at too much in the way of impacts here. Around 1 inch or 2 for the Casper area. And as you head up into Casper Mountain, you could see slightly increased impacts there, since you are going up the hill there, potentially upwards of 6 inches falling on Casper Mountain. So we'll put that on the 4 to 6 inch range there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments now, and we'll make sure to get to them. But if nobody does have any questions regarding this event, we will see you in our next text post. We'll be doing updates throughout the day as usual to cover this winter storm event for Southern Wyoming and I-80. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one.